Hello. All right, so I believe I'm posting this on Thursday. Okay, so this is the review for pages 56 through 65. So it's your Wednesday and Thursday reading for the week. Like I said in my post, you're going to get a lot of answers in this video, so just be patient and you know, you know how it goes. Okay, so in these pages, um, we start off where Ellie and his dad, so technically Sundays they usually didn't have to work, but they were ordered to go into work that Sunday and just keep busy. Like, just be busy, don't bother anybody, just keep busy. Okay, so during this time, Ellie starts to wander around his job site, just kind of exploring, seeing what's going on. And remember, Frennick is the SS guard that they absolutely should avoid because he would just beat people for literally no reason. So, just like we read right before spring break, we know that we don't want to be around Frennick no matter what. Just kind of avoid him. So, during Ellie's time exploring his job site, he catches Frennick, the SS guard they're supposed to be avoiding, doing inappropriate things with a Polish girl. So obviously, if this is somebody that literally would beat you for no reason at all, if you catch them in the act of something they're not supposed to be doing, it's going to be even worse. So, Ellie gets taken in front of everybody, including his dad, and Frennick whips him 25 times for sneaking around the site. And he kind of whispers to him, if you tell anybody what you saw, I will beat you 5 times worse than what I just did. And during that time, Ellie literally passes out from the pain because it hurts so bad. But this is one of her answers, I believe, number 5. Ellie says that he thinks his dad suffered more than he did in that time, and that's because this is the first time his dad has ever seen his son beaten, right? So Ellie's seen his dad beat, but this is his only son. So Ellie's saying, I feel like my dad suffered way more because as a father or as a parent in general, you want to help your kids. And in this time, his dad was like truly helpless, couldn't do anything but watch Frennick literally beat him to the point where he passes out. Okay? Um, so kind of a rough part of the story there for Ellie, for just like walking around his job site there. So next there's an air raid at the camp. Okay, so during this time, all the Nazis and SS guards ran to cover, like for cover, obviously. So they leave the like kind of their they go to their barracks and leave the open area open, which usually they'd be guarding it and making sure the Jewish people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And during that time, there's 2 cauldrons of soup in the middle of like kind of their field, I guess. And all the Jewish people are hiding as well. And everyone knows the cauldrons are there. And they're kind of like, oh my gosh, do we sneak out and get food? Or do we stay back? Because we know the SS guards are probably hiding because they're scared of the bombings. And Ellie's like, our fear of getting shot overweighed our hunger because they wanted to sneak out, like get some soup while they're gone. But literally all of them were just like, we're too scared to get shot. But in this time, there's one person that goes, and everyone is all the Jewish people are watching him crawl to the soup. Right, he's crawling. He literally gets there, sticks his head in the soup because he's so hungry, and then he gets shot by the SS guards. So exactly what they thought was going to happen did. But he was the one that was brave enough to try, and he ends up dying. So again, kind of rough. There's really no mercy. Anytime there's like one good thing, you think you got some soup, something bad is going to follow it up. But for number 6 on your questions, during the air raids, the prisoners are after, right? So the SS guards come out, they're kind of anxious, kind of nervous about these air raids. The prisoners are excited and cheerful. And that reasoning is because it's showing, hey, maybe they'll get released soon. Like maybe the Allied forces are actually pretty close and they'll get released soon, but be able to be set free. So it makes them have like a sense of hope finally that maybe they will come out of this alive. So for like a week, it's kind of like obviously like the SS guards are kind of trying to get back to normal. And a week after the air raids, the SS guards take somebody that they accuse of stealing something. And they hang him in front of all of the Jewish people. So during the hangings, they had to watch the person get hung and then walk past them. And again, this is one of those things where like they just kind of do to show them like don't mess with us kind of thing, like we talked about at the beginning. literally just to show their dominance and that, hey, like, we know there was an air raid, but, like, don't forget that we're in charge kind of thing. So they kind of use this guy as an example, like, if you're going to try to steal from us, then this is what's going to happen. But I want to get this right. So for number 7, the guy right before he gets hung, he screams, "Long live liberty, a curse upon Germany." And in that part, you could kind of assume that he's trying to show the guards and the prisoners, like, hey, we're going to get through this. Like, I know that I might be going, but someone is going to release these people, and you're not going to get away with this. So again, it's kind of like a push of hope for the prisoners. This guy's like, hey, in my last few minutes of life, I want to show them that they're going to make it and that they can do it, kind of thing. So it's kind of a nice, like, rally of hope that they have in this section. And Ellie says that night for number 8 here that this soup tastes better than ever that night because they kind of go to sleep like, you know what, maybe we will get through this. There was an air raid a week ago. He just gave us this nice sign. Maybe we'll get through this. So the last part of this section, I'll make sure I get it right. So during this time as well, there's a Dutch capo, remember, like a Dutch kind of prison, like head guard kind of prisoner thing, that's planning a revolt. Okay, so he wouldn't tell any of the SS guards who he was working with, his plan, or anything. And he had a little servant that wouldn't tell them either. So he was tortured for weeks on end before he finally got moved to Auschwitz. But he wouldn't reveal like who was working with him at all because he knew if he did, then those people would probably die. So once he's sent to Auschwitz, they take the man's servant. He's this little pipple, and he's a little kid, and he's loved by all the prisoners in the camp. But he was working with him, and he was charged with the death penalty. So just like the last guy that got hung, they all have to stand up and watch him get hung. And in this time, there's 2 men that get hung with him. And Ellie explains this one as just horrendous. Like, he says, even the guards had a hard time doing it. Like, usually the head guard executes the hangings, and he made another guard do it. And, like, he's like, usually we don't even cry at the hangings because we're so immune to them. He said, but when they hung this little kid, the 2 older people next to him died immediately. But they sat there for over an hour and a half watching this little boy kind of hang on life and death because he was too light to kill himself immediately. So they literally had to stand there, all of them, and watch for an hour and a half as he, like, hung on to kind of living, kind of dying until he finally died. He says that everybody cried. Like, usually they didn't cry because they're just so immune, but this was so horrendous to watch that they all cried. They had to walk past him like usual, and he said it was just the worst thing that he'd seen, and even he could tell that the guards were disturbed by the scene, which is saying a lot at this point, right? So, unfortunately, in this section, it loses their hope completely, right? Again, the guards are trying to show their dominance. And Ellie says that that night the soup did not taste amazing like it did for number 8. For number 10, he says the soup tasted like corpses. Like, it was just absolutely horrendous to watch. And it's kind of this point in the book where you're just like, gosh, like, they really have no mercy over anybody. And that's kind of how Ellie and the other prisoners feel as well. I think it's really interesting to point out that the guards even had a hard time with this one, to show like their slight sense of humanity, even though they're literally killing people every day. So that's where we leave off. That's the end of chapter 4, technically, and that should have given you a lot of answers for the last part of your question. So